Ancient Egypt, one of the greatest civilizations in human history, stood for thousands of years. But why did it truly disappear? The official narrative talks about invasions and internal struggles, but is that the whole story? Some believe that Egypt's high priests possessed secret knowledge capable of altering the very fabric of reality. Could their sudden disappearance have been the first domino to fall? Ancient texts hint at a war of the gods, not waged on earth but in the skies, leaving the pyramids as the last remaining witnesses to an epic celestial battle. Or maybe Egypt didn't fall to invaders at all. What if it collapsed because of experiments on its own people? Some mummies exhibit strange anatomical features, and deep within the catacombs of Giza there are traces of unknown entities. Were the pharaohs just human rulers, or did their bloodline hide something far more mysterious? Get ready for mind-blowing theories, hidden artifacts, and shocking truths that might forever change the way you see the real fall of ancient Egypt. The Curse of the Pharaohs. Myth or reality? Death came for them suddenly. Sometimes it was a raging fever, other times a strange suffocation in their sleep. One by one, those who dared to open ancient sarcophagi vanished, as if some unseen force had erased them from existence. Was it all just coincidence? Or had the pharaohs truly left behind a deadly trap for those who disturbed their eternal rest? The Mystery of Tutankhamun's Tomb, 1922. British archaeologist Howard Carter and his team make the discovery of the century, the tomb of King Tutankhamun. But celebration quickly turns to fear. The first to die is Lord Carnarvon, the expedition's sponsor. His body is found in his hotel room, a strange mark on his neck. At the very moment of his death, all the lights in Cairo mysteriously go out. Then, one by one, others begin to perish. A team member falls to his death down a flight of stairs. Another dies in a car crash. A third succumbs to a mysterious infection. But the real shock comes when scientists examine Tutankhamun's mummified body. They find traces of an unknown poison. But why would anyone poison a pharaoh who was already dead? Some researchers believe that ancient priests planted deadly substances inside the tomb, ensuring that anyone who disturbed the king would face divine punishment. Ancient bioweapons? One of the most bizarre discoveries inside Egyptian tombs is clay jars covered in mysterious inscriptions. When opened, some of them released toxic fumes, causing suffocation and hallucinations. Modern scientists believe this could be an early form of biological warfare. Egyptian priests may have sealed mold spores or deadly bacteria inside these containers, creating traps that could kill thousands of years later. But others believe there's something even darker at play: magic. Ancient texts speak of the breath of Set, a curse that unleashes death upon those who enter a sacred burial chamber without the proper rituals. Some archaeologists who worked with mummies reported hearing strange whispers from within tombs and experiencing terrifying nightmares after their expeditions. Are they still among us? The most shocking theory of all suggests that the pharaohs never truly died. If the Egyptian priests understood the secrets of the afterlife, could they have created rituals that allowed the souls of pharaohs to possess the living? Museum workers in Cairo have reported mummies that seem to move on their own. Security cameras have captured shadowy figures standing near sarcophagi in the dead of night. And then there are the disappearances. In 1934, a group of archaeologists ventured into a forgotten tomb in Luxor. They never returned. A search party found their camp completely untouched, tents still standing, equipment in place. But the researchers were gone, leaving no signs of struggle, no footprints, nothing. It was as if they had simply vanished. Coincidence or something more? Over the past century, dozens of archaeologists and tourists who entered these tombs have mysteriously fallen ill or died. Skeptics dismiss it as infection, stress, or bad luck. But the deaths haven't stopped. In 2001, German researcher Wolfgang Buchern explored the hidden tomb of Seti Iber's priests. A week later, he developed a sudden illness and died of unexplained heart failure. His autopsy revealed something terrifying. His heart had been burned from the inside, as if exposed to extreme radiation. Could this be proof that ancient defense mechanisms still guard these tombs? So, does the curse of the pharaohs really exist? Is it just a coincidence, or is something ancient and powerful still protecting the secrets of Egypt's dead rulers? Perhaps the truth lies buried deeper than we can imagine. And maybe, just maybe, there are mysteries that should never be disturbed. The disappearance of Amun's high priests. Where did Egypt's most powerful magicians go? The priests of Amun were not just temple servants. They ruled Egypt from the shadows, manipulating pharaohs, rewriting history, and deciding who would rule and who would vanish. Their influence peaked during the New Kingdom, but then, suddenly and inexplicably, they disappeared. Their temples fell silent, their records stopped, and the priests themselves seemed to evaporate. Where did this powerful caste go? And what forced the disappearance of those who knew too much? A conspiracy or a catastrophe? Some historians believe the fall of Amun's priesthood was a power struggle. The priests had grown richer and more powerful than the pharaohs, controlling vast resources and shaping Egypt's destiny. Perhaps one of the pharaohs, fearing their dominance, orchestrated a secret purge. Yet Egyptian records show no evidence of mass executions or purges. If they had been slaughtered, history would have left behind some trace. Instead, their presence fades away gradually, as if they simply dissolved into time. Escape to the underworld of Egypt. Ancient texts mention lands beneath the sands, where some say the priests fled. Some archaeologists claim that entire underground cities lie hidden beneath the temples of Karnak and Luxor. One of the most mysterious discoveries is a sealed tunnel beneath Seti Iber's temple in Abydos, found in the 1960s. It leads deep underground, ending at a massive, unopened stone door. To this day, no one knows what lies behind it. Could Amun's priests have built secret sanctuaries, hidden from human eyes? If so, these underground chambers may contain powerful artifacts and forbidden knowledge, secrets too dangerous for ordinary people. The Lost City of the Priests. Ancient Egyptian records speak of a mysterious city called Kem-Uset, the sanctuary of knowledge. It was said to be a stronghold of wisdom, where the priests stored scrolls containing magical texts and divine secrets. But at some point, the city vanished. Some researchers believe Kem-Uset once stood where the Siwa oasis is today, surrounded by the desert. Others suggest that the priests themselves erased it from history, using methods that modern science still cannot explain. A connection to Atlantis. One of the most bizarre theories links the priests of Amun to Atlantis. Ancient Greek texts claim the Egyptians knew of the lost continent and even maintained contact with it. If Atlantis truly existed, could the priests have been its last survivors? After Atlantis fell, legend says its high priests fled to Egypt, bringing forbidden knowledge with them. But what if they did more than just share their wisdom? Some theorists suggest that the priests of Atlantis merged with Amun's priesthood, creating a superior class of mystics. If so, their disappearance might not have been random. It could have been part of a greater plan. Could they have left Egypt in search of a new sanctuary? Did an ancient curse erase them? Another chilling possibility is that Amun's priests fell victim to a curse. Some ancient texts warn of forbidden knowledge, secrets so dangerous that those who learn them are erased from existence. A papyrus found in Edfu Temple describes the great night when the gods took away those who knew too much. If this legend is true, then the priests may have uncovered something so terrifying, so unnatural, that it led to their destruction. No one knows for sure what became of Amun's high priests. Were they killed in secret? Did they hide beneath the earth? Or did they cross into another realm? One thing is certain, their disappearance was no accident. Perhaps one day the truth will emerge, revealing what Egypt's greatest magicians were hiding from the world. The gods' conspiracy. Did Ra abandon his children? Egypt's greatness was always tied to the sun. Ra, the supreme deity, the bringer of light and life, was the protector of pharaohs, their celestial father. But at some point, it seemed as though the sun turned its back on Egypt. Catastrophic changes swept the land: droughts, failing harvests, and sandstorms that swallowed entire cities. People whispered that Ra had left them, plunging the world into darkness. But what if this wasn't just myth, but reality? What if Egypt's downfall wasn't caused by war or politics, but by something far greater? Solar anomalies foretold in ancient texts and unexplained events that defy logic to this day. Solar anomalies. A hidden warning? Egyptian papyri mention a darkness that devoured the light. One of the most mysterious texts, the prophecy of Neferti, written around 2000 BCE, states, "The day will turn to night, and the sun will not rise. The land will be without a ruler, and the great will fall." Some scholars believe this passage describes a real event, a time when the sun truly dimmed. In the 20th century, astronomers found evidence of massive solar storms that could have triggered climate disasters. On the walls of Karnak Temple, strange carvings depict pharaohs pleading with the sun, yet above them are not the usual sun rays but dark circles. Some modern researchers believe this could be a record of a coronal mass ejection, a solar event powerful enough to darken the skies. But why did Egypt's priests record this as a conspiracy of the gods? Could they have known more than they let on? Or were they trying to warn future generations about a catastrophe they failed to prevent? The Great Darkening. Myth or reality? Egyptian chronicles reference a Great Darkening, a time when the sun disappeared for days. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence that in the 11th century BCE, Egypt suffered a period of devastation. The Nile dried up, famines sparked riots, priests fled their temples, and pharaohs lost their power. In 2017, scientists confirmed a massive volcanic eruption on Santorini, dating to roughly the same period. This could have sent a vast ash cloud into the atmosphere, blocking the sun for months. But Egyptian records don't mention a volcano. They speak only of the god's wrath. If a solar blackout truly occurred, the Egyptians might have seen it as a divine punishment, proof that Ra had abandoned them, sealing the fate of their civilization. A cosmic war. Some alternative researchers suggest that what the Egyptians witnessed was a celestial battle. Ancient texts mention fiery chariots and burning spears tearing across the sky. A particularly strange text, found in the tomb of a priest named Intef, describes the Battle of the Suns. Two great lights clashed in the heavens, and fire rained from above. Ra turned his face away from the world, and night consumed the earth. Many dismiss this as poetic symbolism, but some believe it could be a description of a cosmic event, perhaps a comet colliding with Earth's atmosphere or a meteor impact that caused temporary darkness. If true, could the priests have known about it beforehand? Were they trying to prepare their people for the disaster? Or were they part of a secret order, guarding knowledge of celestial catastrophes? The gods' final sign? In the final years of ancient Egypt's glory, something extraordinary happened. In 525 BCE, When Persian armies invaded, the sky turned blood red. This was recorded not only by the Egyptians but also by the Persians, who claimed they saw ominous signs before their victory. Was this Ra's last warning? Did the Egyptian priests foresee the empire's end and leave encrypted messages in their sacred texts, clues we have yet to decipher? Did Ra truly abandon Egypt? Could solar anomalies really have led to Egypt's collapse, stripping the land of its lifeblood and stability? Or was this the will of the gods erasing one of history's greatest civilizations? If Ra truly turned his back on Egypt, why? What did his children do to provoke his wrath? The answers may still lie buried in ancient manuscripts waiting to be understood. Or perhaps the truth is too terrifying to uncover. Contact with extraterrestrial civilizations, the gods' departure. Ancient Egypt left behind countless mysteries, but one of the most puzzling is the pyramids. These colossal structures, built with mind-blowing precision, continue to spark debate among scholars. How did a civilization without wheels or iron tools manage to construct such massive monuments? Some theories suggest that the pyramids weren't just royal tombs but something far greater. Could they have functioned as astronomical observatories, energy hubs, or even docking stations for unknown forces? And why did the knowledge of building such structures vanish after Egypt's golden age? Maybe because those who built them left Earth? So, what really happened? The theory that the pyramids are linked to extraterrestrial civilizations remains one of the most controversial, but it can't be dismissed entirely. Ancient Egyptian texts hinted contact with beings who came from beyond the sky's edge. Their knowledge disappeared as suddenly as it appeared. If this is true, then maybe, one day, they will return. And when they do, we may finally learn why they left Earth, and what comes next. Pyramids as stargates. The connection between pyramid placement and celestial bodies is eerie. The Great Pyramids of Giza align almost perfectly with the 3 stars in Orion's belt. Their angles are calculated with astonishing precision, and shafts within the pyramids point to specific stars. The ancient Egyptians believed that pharaohs traveled among the stars after death. But what if these weren't just myths? Some researchers argue that the pyramids might have served as a portal for communication, or even transportation, to extraterrestrial civilizations. There's also a hypothesis that the pyramids could generate electromagnetic waves, interacting with Earth's ionosphere. Some even speculate that they acted as energy transmitters, possibly sending signals into space, or unlocking hidden gateways. But if that's true, why was this technology abandoned? Who possessed this knowledge, and why was it never used again? Lost construction technology. One of the strangest aspects of Egypt's history is the disappearance of its architectural prowess. The most advanced pyramids were built during the Old Kingdom, yet later Egyptians never replicated these feats. How did the construction techniques available under Pharaoh Khufu, Cheops, simply vanish a few centuries later? Some believe the answer lies in the beings who passed this knowledge down. If the Egyptians didn't invent pyramid building themselves, but followed the instructions of higher entities, it makes sense that their ability to build such structures ended when those entities left. There's also speculation that ancient stonemasons didn't rely on primitive copper tools but rather used sound-based technology. Legends speak of stones floating into place, seemingly obeying the priests' voices. If such a technique existed, it may have been lost along with the ones who introduced it. But if these beings were real, where did they go? The gods' disappearance, escape, or exile. Egyptian mythology contains cryptic references to the gods not just ruling the land, but also leaving it. The pyramid texts describe a day when the gods ascended to the stars, abandoning humanity. They rose upon the celestial boats and sailed the great path, vanishing among the lights of the sky. What if this isn't just poetic imagery, but an actual event? Could the Egyptians have witnessed the departure of those they called gods and encoded the story in their sacred texts? Some theories suggest that the Great Pyramid of Giza wasn't just a monument but a launch pad, an energy-based structure capable of space travel. Studies indicate hidden chambers within the pyramid that could have served as energy storage units. But if the gods truly left Earth, why did they go? 1. Their mission was complete. They guided humanity's development and left, allowing civilization to evolve independently. 2. They fled a catastrophe. Perhaps Egypt faced cosmic warfare or an impending natural disaster. 3. They were forced out. Could there have been a conflict between powerful beings with the victors exiling the losers from Earth? A message carved in stone. Some believe that knowledge hidden within the pyramids could help humanity reclaim its lost history. The Great Pyramid still holds secrets. Its passageways lead to sealed chambers that no one has entered. In 2017, researchers discovered a mysterious void inside the structure, stretching over 100 feet, 30 meters. Its purpose remains unknown. Could it contain artifacts revealing who really built the pyramids? The last pharaoh. Was he even human? Egyptian pharaohs were believed to be living gods, direct descendants of divine beings endowed with mystical power. But ancient texts contain hints of something even stranger, descriptions of rulers with features that seem not entirely human. Some Egyptian records suggest that the last pharaohs possessed traits that defied normal human anatomy. Legends speak of beings with smooth skin, like that of a serpent, eyes that glowed in the dark, and skulls elongated into impossible shapes. So, were Egypt's rulers truly just ordinary humans? Or could some of them have been something else entirely? Beings whose origins remain a mystery even thousands of years later? Serpent gods, or something more? Ancient Egyptian mythology is filled with serpent-like figures. Apophis, the eternal enemy of the sun god Ra, was depicted as a massive snake, always trying to consume the sun. Wadjet, the protective goddess of the pharaohs, was symbolized by a cobra. But some texts go further, describing pharaohs themselves with scaly skin and the ability to change their appearance. One papyrus from the reign of Amenhotep IV, Akhenaten, states, "He is unlike men. His eyes shine like the stars, and his skin is as smooth as that of a god. He came from beyond this world." Some researchers dismiss this as religious exaggeration, but others believe there may be something deeper behind these words. Strange discoveries. Unusual mummies. In the 19th and 20th centuries, archaeologists uncovered several mummies with anatomical anomalies that didn't match typical human proportions. The skulls of Akhenaten and his family. Egyptologists have long noted that Akhenaten's portraits look unlike any other pharaohs: an elongated skull, thin limbs, and unusually wide hips. But the real shock came when the actual mummies of his family were examined. Their skulls were truly elongated in ways that cannot be explained by normal human variation. Some argue this was intentional skull shaping, but others suspect something far more mysterious. A mummy with unknown DNA. In 2011, scientists analyzed the DNA of a mummy found in the Valley of the Kings. The genetic results revealed mutations never before seen in modern humans. Its bones were denser than usual, and its skull shape was eerily unnatural. The missing navel. When Howard Carter discovered King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, one detail stood out. There was no sign of a belly button. This led to speculation that he wasn't born naturally, but rather created. If some Egyptian rulers really had genetic differences, where did they come from? Theories. Who or what was the last pharaoh? 1. A genetic experiment by the gods. Some believe the pharaohs were the result of ancient genetic engineering. Egyptian texts mention great masters who shaped flesh, perhaps a reference to lost knowledge of biological manipulation. 2. Descendants of extraterrestrials. If the Egyptian gods were actually extraterrestrial beings, then it's possible that pharaohs were their direct descendants. Unusual remains, elongated skulls, strangely proportioned skeletons support this theory. 3. The last pharaoh wasn't from this world. According to some accounts, the last true pharaoh of ancient Egypt vanished under mysterious circumstances. Some legends claim he ascended to the sky, or retreated to a sanctuary where no one could follow. If that's true, maybe Egypt's final ruler didn't die, but left this world the same way those who gave him power once did. What secrets still lie hidden? Egypt is a land of mysteries, many of which remain unsolved. Were some of its rulers truly not entirely human, or did the high priests of Egypt conceal something that modern science is still unable to explain? Who was the last true pharaoh? A man? A god? Or something else entirely? Something whose story was erased from stone but lingers on in legend? Perhaps the answer still waits, buried beneath the sands, inside tombs yet to be uncovered, tombs that may one day reveal the greatest secret of ancient Egypt. Was this war real? Plato may have intended Atlantis to be a metaphor, a philosophical tale about the rise and fall of civilizations. But if his story is based on real events, a stunning possibility emerges. The Atlanteans were a powerful civilization, capable of world domination. They clashed with Egypt in an ancient war and lost. Soon after, Atlantis was wiped off the map, possibly by a global catastrophe. Egypt survived, but it suffered massive upheaval. Did Egypt preserve more knowledge about Atlantis than we realize? Could the answers still be hidden in ancient manuscripts waiting for their moment to rewrite history? What if the temples of Egypt hold the last remaining records of a world that no longer exists? The Secret War with Atlantis, Myths or Memories of a Real Catastrophe. The Legend of Atlantis, a powerful, enigmatic civilization that vanished from the face of the earth, has fascinated historians, researchers, and enthusiasts for thousands of years. But there's one detail in this story that often goes unnoticed. In Plato's dialogues, the Atlanteans went to war with Egypt. Could this battle have been real? Is it possible that Egypt was the only civilization to survive a clash with the ancient rulers of the seas? And why do the timelines of Atlantis' destruction and Egypt's mysterious decline seem to line up so perfectly? What did Plato say? In his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato describes the Atlanteans as a great naval power with immense military strength. They conquered lands, subjugated nations, and eventually set their sights on Egypt and Greece. But the Egyptians didn't just resist this superpower, they defeated it. And shortly after their victory, Atlantis completely disappeared from the earth. Plato describes it like this. Then came violent earthquakes and floods, and, in a single day and night of misfortune, the entire warrior race was swallowed up by the earth, and the island of Atlantis disappeared beneath the sea. A mere coincidence? Or did Egypt know something important about Atlantis's fate? Why did Atlantis attack Egypt? If the Atlanteans were so powerful, why didn't they simply conquer Egypt instead of engaging in a long war? There are several theories. 1. A war of priestly knowledge. Both Atlantis and Egypt were known for their mystical traditions and deep understanding of the natural world. Perhaps they developed separately but eventually clashed in a struggle for secret knowledge. 2. Egypt's strategic importance. If Atlantis was real, its navy would have needed to control key regions. Egypt, as a center of trade, wisdom, and technology, would have been a highly valuable prize. 3. A desperate escape attempt. Some theories suggest the Atlanteans knew a catastrophe was coming and sought to relocate to a safer land. Egypt may have been their target because its priests possessed knowledge that could help them survive. But something unexpected happened. Egypt pushed back the invasion, and soon after, Atlantis vanished. A catastrophe that destroyed two civilizations. One of the most puzzling aspects of this story is the timeline. If we trust Plato's accounts, Atlantis disappeared around 9600 BCE. What was happening in Egypt at that time? Some researchers point to a mysterious Great Darkness mentioned in ancient Egyptian texts. Mythology speaks of a great disaster that flooded lands, changed rivers, and wiped out entire peoples. One theory is that a massive global event, such as an asteroid impact or a volcanic eruption, triggered these cataclysms. The similarity in timelines between Atlantis's disappearance and Egypt's ancient catastrophes raises an intriguing possibility. Perhaps Egypt not only fought a war against Atlantis but also witnessed its final destruction. Egyptian texts, hidden references to the Atlanteans. One of the most famous ancient Egyptian texts, the Turin Papyrus, describes an era when gods and demigods ruled before the first pharaohs. They came from a distant world, they knew the secrets of the universe, but their pride became their downfall. Some researchers believe this passage might refer to the Atlanteans. If so, did Egyptian priests preserve knowledge of this ancient war, knowledge that has remained hidden for millennia? The genetic experiment of the ancient priests. Ancient Egypt has always been cloaked in mystery. The priesthood, guardians of divine wisdom, were believed to possess knowledge that still seems unimaginable even today. But what if one of their greatest secrets wasn't buried in scrolls or hidden in sacred temples, but encoded within the very bodies of the ruling elite? Among the countless enigmas of the Egyptian civilization, a particularly fascinating one involves the discovery of mummies with unusual skull shapes and anatomical features. Why did some rulers have elongated heads, disproportionately shaped skeletons, and strange mutations in their DNA? Elongated skulls. Sign of divine bloodline or genetic engineering. Ancient Egyptian art often depicted pharaohs with elongated skulls and distorted proportions. One figure stands out more than any other. Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh who tried to upend Egypt's religious system. His statues and carvings show a slender torso, long fingers, and, most notably, an unnaturally elongated head. Even more striking are the physical remains discovered by archaeologists. Mummies from the Amarna period, the time of Akhenaten, show actual cranial elongation. Some researchers proposed medical conditions like Marfan syndrome, but DNA analyses don't support this theory. The unusual head shapes of Akhenaten's daughters suggest this wasn't the result of artificial cranial deformation, which was common in other cultures. Could this be the result of lost genetic technologies? Some researchers believe the Egyptian priesthood possessed secret knowledge that allowed them to influence human biology. knowledge that may have been lost or intentionally destroyed. Unusual. Mummies, remains that don't seem human. Among the many mummy finds are a few that defy anatomical norms and stir even more questions. 1. The three-fingered mummy. In 2017, reports surfaced about strange remains discovered near ancient temple ruins. The being had an elongated skull and only 3 long fingers on each hand. Some experts dismissed it as a hoax, but if it wasn't, what kind of being did the Egyptians preserve? 2. The mummy with enlarged eye sockets. In the Valley of the Kings, a mummy was discovered with eye sockets far larger than what's considered human. The skull's shape and proportions were abnormal, and genetic tests revealed strange anomalies. Was this a product of experimentation, or a descendant of a divine bloodline? 3. The skull without sutures. In 1925, archaeologists in Abydos found a skull missing the standard cranial sutures, those natural joints found in every human skull. Could this imply that the Egyptians were growing beings artificially? And if so, for what purpose? What were the priests trying to achieve? If Egyptian priests were indeed experimenting with human genetics, what were their intentions? 1. Creating pure. God's pharaohs were believed to be descendants of gods. Perhaps the priests attempted to create superhumans, immortal rulers, by genetically enhancing the royal bloodline. 2. Restoring lost knowledge. Myths speak of ancient beings with divine intelligence. The priesthood might have been trying to recover or replicate their DNA in hopes of reclaiming this ancient wisdom. 3. Reinforcing divine power. Altering the physical appearance of pharaohs may have been part of a grand religious illusion. If the ruler looked inhuman, it would reinforce the belief in their godlike origins. Guardians of forgotten science. Some historians believe that Egyptian priests may have had access to advanced knowledge, possibly remnants of an older civilization. Could they have understood the basics of genetics far beyond their time? Ancient texts refer to rituals of flesh creation. Egyptian mythology tells of first beings, crafted by the gods who later vanished from the world. There are accounts of priests bringing selected individuals back to life, possibly through unknown technological means. What secrets are still buried? For centuries, Egypt's priests have guarded secrets that modern science is only beginning to explore. Hidden beneath the desert sands, there may still be evidence of ancient experiments, proof that the line between myth and reality is thinner than we think. But if the priests were truly manipulating DNA thousands of years ago, who taught them how? And how did those experiments shape the course of civilization? The final battle. Who sealed Egypt's fate? Ancient Egypt didn't simply decline. It fell with alarming speed as if a powerful force had delivered a fatal blow to one of the greatest civilizations in history. The official narrative attributes this collapse to invasions, uprisings, and economic downfall, but scattered across ancient texts, inscriptions, and secret priestly records are cryptic accounts that suggest an entirely different cause. Among these records, strange descriptions emerge, accounts of a fiery wind descending from the heavens, celestial chariots hovering over the capital, and enemies who came not from land or sea. The ancient chronicles, a hidden truth. One of the most mysterious texts, known as the Thule Papyrus, was allegedly discovered in the early 20th century before mysteriously disappearing. It describes an event that took place in the 13th century BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Thutmose III. On the 22nd day of the 3rd month of winter, at the 6th hour of the day, The scribes of the House of Life noticed a circular, fiery disk in the sky. It had no head but emitted a terrifying glow. The heat was unbearable, and it remained motionless over the capital. Then more disks emerged from it, hovering over the lands of Great Egypt. This passage has fueled endless theories. Could the priests have witnessed an invasion, not from an earthly army but from an unknown force? Other ancient texts mention stars shattering above temples and sand turning into glass. Similar formations occur in deserts after extreme heat bursts, the kind seen in modern nuclear test sites. Egypt's last enemy, not humans, but heavenly gods. According to myths, Egypt was created by the gods. But what if those same gods returned to destroy what they once built? Several pieces of evidence point to this possibility. Egyptian temples depict fiery chariots soaring through the sky. Mainstream historians dismiss these as metaphors, but what if they recorded real events? Chronicles from the time of Egypt's last great pharaoh describe a divine storm that wiped out entire cities in a single night. Excavations in some regions have uncovered burnt desert areas with fused sand, resembling the glass-like formations found at nuclear blast sites. Some theorists believe Egyptian priests and pharaohs knew an invasion was coming, but they had no way to resist this unknown force. There are even suggestions that they tried to negotiate with those who came from above, but the talks failed. Could there have been a war? One fought between Egypt's priests, struggling to protect their civilization, and the mysterious gods who demanded its surrender. Several key factors support this theory. 1. The myth of the final war. Ancient Egyptian texts describe a battle of the gods in which Ra turned away from his children, and Osiris could not rise from the dead. Could this be a metaphor for real, historical events? 2. Vanishing capitals. Cities like Pi-Ramesses were abandoned suddenly, with no signs of large-scale battles. It's as if people simply disappeared, fleeing something they couldn't comprehend. 3. Sunken ruins. In the Mediterranean Sea, archaeologists have found submerged temples that, according to ancient records, were destroyed by wrath from the sky. Who delivered the final blow to Egypt? Conventional history tells us that Egypt fell to Persians, Greeks, and Romans. But if the ancient accounts are true, then something far more extraordinary may have happened. Could a civilization so powerful and full of mysteries have been wiped out not by human hands, but by something or someone that came from the stars? And if they did, where did they go after their victory? More importantly, could they return? Egypt after the fall. Why its legacy lives in every nation. Ancient Egypt officially ceased to exist over 2,000 years ago, yet its memory refuses to fade. Egyptian symbols, gods, architectural principles, and even mysterious technologies somehow spread across the world. Could it be that Egypt didn't just fall, but instead transformed, dissolving into other civilizations? Some scholars argue that traces of Egyptian culture can be found in places with no apparent connection to the Nile Valley, from the Maya and Aztecs to ancient China and India. The similarities are so numerous that they challenge the idea that Egypt's legacy ever truly vanished. Pyramids around the world. Coincidence or a continuing tradition? One of the most intriguing signs of Egypt's influence is the global presence of pyramids. The Maya and Aztecs built stepped pyramids that bear a striking resemblance to those in Egypt. They followed the same mathematical principles and were aligned with the stars. Why did civilizations on opposite sides of the world arrive at the same architectural solution? Few people know that China has pyramids too, hidden in Shanxi province, some covered in vegetation and closed off from the public. Official history insists they have no link to Egypt, but the similarities raise questions. Sudan's pyramids, built by the ancient kingdom of Kush, look like miniature versions of their Egyptian counterparts. Were they built by descendants of Egyptian priests? If pyramids were more than just tombs, if they were part of a lost technology, could Egyptian priests have passed their knowledge to other cultures? Egyptian gods in foreign pantheons. Surprisingly, Egyptian gods seem to echo as the deities of other civilizations. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent of the Maya, resembles Amun, often depicted with unusual animal traits. Anubis in India. The Vedic god Yama, ruler of the underworld, was sometimes depicted with a jackal's head, just like Anubis. The Great Flood myth appears in Egyptian, Sumerian, Chinese, and Native American traditions. Could this be a shared memory of an ancient cataclysm? Vanished or relocated? Some researchers suggest that after Egypt's fall, its elite, priests, architects, and keepers of sacred knowledge didn't vanish but instead migrated to new lands. Greek myths speak of wise priests from the south who brought knowledge of astronomy and geometry. Ancient Chinese records describe mystics who came from the desert and taught people how to build palaces and temples. South American legends tell of white gods with advanced knowledge who taught civilizations to track time using the sun. Could remnants of Egypt's great civilization have spread across the globe, shaping new cultures? Egypt in secret societies. Another theory suggests that Egyptian knowledge didn't disappear. It was preserved by secret groups. Freemasonry incorporates Egyptian symbols, from the pyramid and the all-seeing eye to ancient initiation rites. Medieval alchemists claimed their craft was the lost wisdom of the Egyptians. In the 20th century, Nazi scientists searched for Egypt's sacred technologies, believing they could alter reality itself. Did Egypt's priests simply fade into history, or did they pass down their secrets to chosen initiates? Egypt never died. It lives in every nation. No matter how Egypt fell, its traces remain indelible. Maybe Egypt didn't vanish. It evolved, taking new forms in other civilizations. Or perhaps it never disappeared at all, instead continuing to influence the world from the shadows through secret knowledge and forgotten technology. An ancient text once warned, "When the last temple falls, Egypt will not die. It will live in words, in symbols, in those who carry the light of knowledge." Maybe Egypt never truly fell. Maybe it still rules the world, from behind the veil.